What's bonkin', everybody, and welcome to Take Your Time, a Persona 5 Royal podcast where we play Persona 5 Royal in real time, along with the real calendar dates. I am, as always, one of your co-hosts, Tom Marks, joined by Jonathon Dornbush. Jonathon.
We put a lot of plosives in both the name of the show and, the name of the game that we're playing with, so it doesn't help us to start every show where we have to say a lot of T's and a lot of P's. It throws us off, I think, from minute one, so I always feel a little worried.
I can change my name if we need to take that. That's one
that
less
would be
T.
best. Yeah. If you want to be Mom Tarks.
Yeah. Well, that's still a T.
Mom Rarks. Mom T Rarks. There you go.
Well, it's canon now. We've got a good show for you today. We're in our first full week of free time for Sai's Palace. We're getting into this. It's like, man, November, right? Like we're so close to so much of the meaty meat stuff at the end of this game. But first we've got to hang out with our buds some more. We are going over the dates of November 1st to November 7th. But then we've got some housekeeping from last week. First of all, the pop quiz. So last week I asked a Halloween-themed pop quiz question, which was, which of the following isn't a costume that you could find random people wearing as they walked around different places like Kichijoji and Shibuya and that sort of thing? The options were witch, ghost, maid, pumpkin vampire, or pumpkin vampire with a top hat. Jonathon, did you have any guesses?
So the last two really throw me because I have to assume they're both true. One, from a production level, it helps you save money, but two, it makes it seem like it's two different costumes. So I'm gonna go with witch.
Okay. Well, that is not correct. Damn. But 3 people in the YouTube comments did. Hannah, Aaron, and Mitch all got this right. It is ghost. There are no ghosts walking around.
I just thought ghost would be too easy because you just put a sheet on people and then
you'd think.
Interesting.
But yeah, so there's like a bunch of other. There's like a couple more that you can find. I think in the loading kind of transitions. But those are the main ones. I just love that there's like a pumpkin head person with like a vampire cape on and spiky mouth, and then you can just find the exact same model but with 3 different colors of top hat. And I don't know why.
Budget. That saves money.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. I love the pumpkin vampire with a top hat dearly.
That's amazing.
I think that'll be my Halloween costume next year, to be honest.
I was going to say, I need fan art of you as that.
Yeah, thank you, yeah. The other thing we got this week was a viewer comment that I really appreciated on YouTube from Amy. Amy says, in reference to last week where Akechi eats the Russian takoyaki and burns himself, Amy says, I like to believe that Akechi was embarrassed about meeting all his boyfriend's friends and so tried to show off by eating their takoyaki. If eating a burger can get Joker the guts to work at a gun shop, eating takoyaki is Akechi's way of working his way up to declaring his love for his jazz hot tub lover. This is my headcanon, and you can't tell me otherwise.
Yes.
I mean, it's just excellent stuff right there.
Oh, yeah. You don't even need to say it's headcanon. It is clearly canon. I think we can all agree that that's where the game is.
They confirmed that in an art book, actually.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Naturally. Yeah. My favorite way facts about things get confirmed.
Uh-huh. And Jonathon, I think you had a review you wanted to read?
Yes, I did. Thank you to those who continue to thumbs up, rate, subscribe, do all the things that you can do with the show. And just want to say thank you. We got another review on Apple Podcasts, so just want to read it out. Unfortunately, I cannot properly read the username, not because it's dirty or anything, but it is just a conglomeration of many different consonants and like 2 vowels.
They have the same problem as the beginning of our show.
It's fair, yeah. So ZXC, I'm just going to call you. ZXC rated us 5 stars, thank you very much, and said, took my heart as the subject line. I look forward to the new pod episode each week. Tom and Jonathon are huge fans of Persona 5, and it shows in their work here. Playing through the game in the real-time pace with them has been a great experience and allows for more thought and introspection into a masterpiece of a JRPG. They truly take their time. And thank you for that review and appreciate it.
And thank
you
for the review.
If people want to leave those, it helps more Persona fans find the show, which we have been appreciating. I think I just saw someone left a comment, you'll eventually get to this, someone left a comment on a like June episode over the weekend and was like, I'm just catching up right now and I'm binging the whole show. So thank you to everyone who's doing that.
You know, it's weird. We are closer now to recommending that people start a new playthrough in time with us in next April than we are to people catching up with us in original April.
That's fair. If you want to play through the game in this process, yeah, you will wait less time.
Yeah. If you just go to next week or next year. Anyway, let's talk about this week. Hey, look, we finished an intro in under 6 minutes. Incredible.
I do have a couple thoughts about season 7 of House, though.
I knew this was going to come up.
No, go ahead.
Sabotaged by myself. No, so we've got a full week of free time. Once again, to go over, if you missed it or you just catching up or whatever, we're going to talk about, because this palace is a little bit weird, we're going to talk about the palace, the bulk of the palace next week, and then the following week will be the deadline week, and that week we'll talk about the finale, the boss fight, and the kind of going through that stuff. So this week we're not talking about the palace at all, even though it is what I did this week partly. But let's start with November 1st. November 1st, Jonathan, what did you do?
I started, I continue trying to hang out with Haru, since she's, the newest confidant we have. We planted tomatoes together. I genuinely don't know if I hung out with Haru more than maybe once in my first playthrough, so it's either just me forgetting or genuinely never having seen it before, but I very much enjoyed the idea that, like, her confidant, like, rank up thing, you get to go plant plants with her, and these are items that you get, and I, like, it's a really cool sort of just secondary thing to keep in mind, again, in the background of things you can keep doing and such, and so, planted tomatoes, they'll be ready, I think they're ready November 7th, which was the end of this week, so... Yeah, I'll go back for those probably this coming week. But I did that, and then... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to dig in real quick, because we didn't talk about the planting mechanic too much yet.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things that you should just add to your checklist of, like, are you keeping track of this? Are you updating this? Right? Now we don't have to worry about smoothies or whatever, so, like, let's just worry about planting. And... yeah, it's an interesting choice, right? Because the first two items are, like, two of, if not the best... than like two of the best SP recovery items you can possibly get.
Yeah.
And then the other two are item forms of the abilities Charge and Concentrate, which double your attack or double your next attack or double your next magic attack, which are like really, really good because it's nice to just like have anybody have the ability to get those to you or like use those at a drop of a hat.
Oh, yeah.
So they're super useful items, and they're just useful to like stay on top of and just like constantly be making sure Haru is growing something for you.
Yeah, it's funny, I have no recognition of those items being a thing in the first playthrough or this mechanic, so I genuinely think I just didn't engage with it, which is a shame, because it is, as you said, like very useful, and the items that you can get from it are like massively helpful in a pinch.
Yeah.
So I am definitely going to try to keep up with it as we continue on in these few months.
It's funny, I've been finding myself deleting skills from people that I otherwise would have prioritized in my first playthrough of Royal this time, and it's because I'm finding a lot more places to make those skills be items. So like before I was like super excited about somebody getting Charge or Concentrate, and now I'm like, well, if I have 10 spring onions, right, or whatever they're called, and that gives Concentrate, then I technically don't need somebody to always have Concentrate, because I could always have that. And it's the same thing with like abilities that like are the, get rid of X status effect. Or it's like, well, if I have 1,200 of this item that gets rid of that status effect, then I don't actually need that ability on anybody. And like I've almost gone as far as to do that with like healing abilities for some people too.
Oh yeah.
Where it's just like, oh, like, I don't really need, like, everyone to have this healing ability if I can just like, make $1 million in mementos and go to Takemi and, like, load up on healing items.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know that's not, like, always the best option, but, like, I've been finding myself relying on items more this playthrough.
No, me too, totally. Like, it has fundamentally changed how I've played with the access of that, and I don't think it makes it, like... I guess you could argue it maybe makes it easier, but it does allow me to like focus on the personas having a more interesting and varied set of abilities, and sometimes those are more support abilities or just like innate abilities that give you like a buff at the beginning or protection against certain things or just better attack abilities. Like I think I've left Morgana to be the healer. Since Morgana fits pretty well into that bucket, and I think maybe one other person has a healing ability, but other than that, I've almost completely let those go by because I'm just so well stocked at the moment.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. I interrupted to talk about vegetables.
How dare you?
Yeah.
You decided to talk about the game. How could you? And then just in the evening, I got to rank 4 with Chihaya, so nothing major, but yeah. What about you?
Working your way through. I... on November 1st, got the Confidant that is in Akihabara.
I did that... What day did I do that? I did that the next day.
Great. So we can talk about it tomorrow.
Yes.
So I got that Confidant. And then that evening I leveled Oya, because what I'm trying to do now is... I just did that big Mementos trip, right? So I unlocked EY... Hifumi and Chihaya's like Confidant because I did their Mementos request, and now I'm trying to get Oya's so that I can like have that be capped off now too.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
What about the second?
Well, on November 2nd,
God, wait. Something tragic happens on the morning of November 2nd.
Why don't I have it written down? What happened?
Because it's not very important, but it has, as Amy's comment at the top of the show indicates, has massive implications.
Is it does Akechi come to you in the subway?
Yeah, and he breaks up with you.
Right. Yeah, it's a real it was funny when that conversation started. I was like, I don't need to write this down. This will be fine. And then it went on. I was like, oh, this is serious. But then I didn't write it down. So thank you for reminding me.
He says, once our mission is complete, I think we should stop meeting privately like this. And I was like, oh, Akechi.
I know.
But why?
Also, like, this isn't really private. We're on a subway train station stop. There's a lot of people around.
He says it like those meetings weren't coincidental.
I know.
Like he was like, I track you and meet you like this, and I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. We have to stop these meetings. You're the one who makes them happen. Also, I'm very groggy in the morning, so I barely remember them. Like, come on.
Yeah, so Akechi says you got to stop hanging out. Because he's like, I like meeting with you, but we can't do this anymore.
I gotta get up to that rank 10 quickly to change his mind.
It's not you, it's me.
It's not you, it's the metaverse.
So there's that, and then there's reading on the train.
Yes, which I read the technical book, the final book. So yeah, I got that done.
Yeah, that's super useful.
And then, during the day, I started the bond with, as he's known originally, the Gamer King. So I started that initiation process.
And
and
did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we can jump in. I'll just say, in the evening, I hung out with Akechi to get him to a new rank, so that we can, get back on dating. I was like, this morning never happened, my dude.
I did as well. Nice. This is the day we should dig into actually for both of these aspects. So did you get Shinya as a confidant?
I think this day, because I hung out with Shinya on Thursday. Or Friday, one of those days. Yeah. So that's good, because Shinya is our last, now that we both have Haru, Shinya is the last confidant, I believe. And is a weird one. So Shinya is the one that teaches you gun moves, which are significantly better in this iteration, in Royal rather than the base game, because guns are just significantly more usable in this because you're not managing ammo per palace, you're managing ammo per fight, which is such a significant difference. I don't think about it too often anymore, but it is wild that we could only use the gun ammo once per it is so different.
And there was a slightly different thing where your clip size was twice as big.
Yes.
So you did have more bullets than just what we would have here, but it was basically, the gun was almost unused for me in the base game. You would use it once to shoot somebody down who had a weakness, or it was used very sparingly. Whereas this time it's I'm using it almost every fight, right? which is great. And so Shinya's abilities centered around gun stuff are much more powerful as a result. Shinya himself, I like his story. I'm going to say this as respectfully as I can. No hate to any specific person, but Shinya's voice drives me crazy in like a very real way, and like it makes me not be able to connect with the character quite as much. And like I no disrespect to any voice actors, right? Like it's just like it's a very specific thing about it, I don't know, that just drives me bonkers, and like it makes me like that character a lot less. But Shinya as a character is one I am excited to dig into a little more. It's like a weird confidant for Joker to be randomly getting some kid in an arcade that he's befriending, but the story that comes out of it is actually like really wholesome and nice.
Yeah, I don't think I maybe did 1 or 2 levels with him in the base game, so I don't really know what comes up. I don't have that problem with him necessarily, though I'm glad you mentioned that, because it makes me feel a little less guilty about saying it, and I did like it. I fundamentally actually changed, but I think part of the reason I didn't invest in them the first time was I was a little thrown by Haru's voice the first time around. In terms of it was very like all at the same pitch in my brain. And I initially read that as just like a character I wasn't interested in. Like I think that played into my idea of like, oh, there's not much depth to Haru's character, and so I didn't like dig into her. But I think like it very much ties into who the character is, and I think works very well for that character now that I've like given them time to focus on them. But Shinya, I can't recall their voice now that you've said that, so I'll listen back next time I hang out with them. But
yeah, well, again, not gonna ruin my enjoyment of the game or anything, course, but like, yeah. So Shinya is one I'm excited to have you see a little more of, because I think it's a nice story, even if it is funny that, you know, you're this high schooler just like randomly befriending an elementary schooler so that he will teach you how to shoot guns good.
Yep,
you know, it's like very funny. You're like literally friends with an ex-Yakuza member.
I was gonna say, there's a guy who owns a model gun shop, and we're going to this kid at an arcade. It's very, I mean, you know, if you know, writing and covering video games every day has taught us anything, the kids are quite good at games. So I guess I understand.
Yeah, so this is the start of this Confidant line. Obviously, to do this one is weird, right? Where you have to go to Mementos, you have to fight the shadow that is invulnerable, and then he gives you a way to defeat it, and then now you can go back into Mementos and do that. But you don't have to, it's just now you can.
Yeah.
And that also gives you the ability where you can just insta-down somebody once per palace. That's can be super useful as we start getting into palaces more, where there's more people that just don't have weaknesses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a valuable Confidant line, and it's definitely one you should do, although I am prioritizing, because Haru and Shinya, you know, are both really, really low right now. I am prioritizing Haru more than, because I think that it is more worth maxing out your entire party first than Shinya, but yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll probably try to balance the two of them, though I still have Oya and Chihaya and EY pretty low, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, that was my day. And then I hung out with Akechi.
And then you leveled Akechi, yes. Yeah. And so this is a little late, but as I was saying before, Akechi was time-gated. Now we can hang out with him again. Just a couple things. This is mechanically spoilerish, but not really. It's just like some things to keep in mind. I think Akechi maxes out at 8.
Okay.
In that you can't, like, or not maxes out, but like caps out at 8. And then for the time being, and then I think that the two that you can do, because you can get them up to 6, and then you can get 7, 8 now, which I did this week actually.
Oh, okay.
And those ones have, if you care about some extra secrety things, those ones have some dialogue choices that need to be made particular ways.
Okay.
Not many, and it's not a huge impact on the game as far as I understand it, but it's not like miss the entire ending of the game like Maruki sort of thing, but it's just, if for the people who care about that, you know, maybe go look at a guide.
Cool. Fair enough. Good to know.
And honestly, it's also the type of thing where it's like probably most people would make the dialogue choices that need to be made this way anyway. Probably. Okay. So, yeah.
Good to. I'll still probably use a guide, but yeah, good to know.
Yeah. We can talk about. You and I could talk about this afterwards if you hung out with him this time. Too.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the second, I think.
You didn't mention your day.
Oh yes, I went to the palace on the second.
Okay, fair enough.
So I just wanted to dive right in. I wasn't sure actually. I went to the palace partially because I wasn't sure if like Akechi was gated to having beaten the palace or not. I thought that might be the case, so I was just like, I'm just going to get it out of the way as fast as I can. And it ended up being not the case, as we see from what you did today. But, yeah, it was... I'm still glad I did it. And then, yeah. So that's the second, cool. I think. Cool. So on the third, what did you do? Because I had a very sort of locked-in day.
My day was very simple. I ranked up Futaba in the middle of the day, and we're starting to get to the point with Futaba where it's like tripping into the awkward potential romance, which I am steering clear of. But so we ranked up that day. I think it was rank 8, and then I finally max ranked Mishima. I think I just had to get done a Mementos request, which I did last week, so I think that was the problem there. So yeah, he's max ranked now. Good to go there.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
So I did the palace again today.
Okay.
Because just for anybody who hasn't done the palace yet, it's kind of a weird thing where it's got one of those mid breaks and then it locks you into doing it the next day, I believe. Gotcha. I think is how it works. So you have to go 2 days in a row. So just be aware of that if you're making any plans. So I did the palace again, and I got through to the end of it on this one. And then in the evening, I leveled Oya.
Okay.
So I'm getting further along with her. I think she's 6 at this point.
Nice, yeah. For all of our decrying how unenthused we were about going for Oya, you've certainly spent some time with her.
Yeah. Oh, no, actually, at this point, she's 7.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her story is interesting still. I mean, it's... The one thing I will say, and we won't get into spoilers now, is I think her story is interesting, but also, like, the last 3 or 4 Confidant hangouts, like 3, I think, have been, like, kind of the same thing over and over again. Not, literally, but, like, it's a little bit slow. It feels like a little bit fillery in certain parts of her story.
A little like Yoshida just taking you along for a conversation. And not being
not exactly that, because that also at least was like a little more his story. It feels like it's just like not like we're not learning much new.
Gotcha.
You know, like it's just sort of the next kind of hangout with her.
Gotcha. Well, I will try to make time, but yeah, there's a few other confidants I want to prioritize for now, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
makes sense.
That was our day for the 3rd.
Cool. So the 4th, there's a quiz about playing cards and suits.
Yes.
Which is relevant to Size Palace being a casino.
It's amazing how these teachers just always are on the money. How could that be? Yeah, on this day, I did my first hangout after, initiating it with Shinya. So I did another hangout with him for another rank. And then, so I forgot to stick to the cadence of saving every few days, and I hadn't saved for at least 3 or 4 days by this point. And I was trying to make coffee. I was trying to make Kawakami make coffee for me. But I have to specifically set it up so it doesn't seem as embarrassing. I was playing remote play on my phone with the Backbone controller that I use. And the connection got bad for like a minute or 2 as I was making the choice, and I thought it went down to ask Kawakami, and it didn't, but I just made coffee that night. And I didn't want to have to replay the last 3 days, because I was also watching Critical Role at this point. It was like during the break. So I didn't want to redo those few days, and so I just accepted that I made coffee for the evening. And you know what? Sometimes you just need an evening at home making coffee.
I feel
that's what I did.
The good news is, and this is something I think I talked about last week or the week before, is that as we get towards the end of Confidant stuff, and this is at least my experience with the Confidants I have left, but I imagine it's similar for you, is that you're going to have a lot more free nights than days, right? Like, wasting a day is a lot more valuable than wasting a night, where I think I only have like 15 more nights worth of Confidants to spend. It might even be less than that, right?
Okay, yeah.
And, like, compare that to days where, like, we have Shinya and Haru are, like, level 1 or 2, right?
Yeah.
So, like, there's a ton of days you have left, but nights are, like, you'll have some nights where you can just, like, go hang out with the twins or, like, do whatever you want, and it's gonna be okay.
Cool. Good to know, because, I was a little worried, but I kind of accept it at this point. Like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
So what did you do on the 4th?
On the 4th, I leveled Shinya, so I got Shinya to 2, and then I leveled Akechi, so I got Akechi to 8, I believe. And you haven't done that one yet?
No, I have not, no.
Okay, I'm excited for you to dig into it, because it's, man, everyone should do Akechi's Confidant line, because it's just really cool what they did with it in Royal.
Yeah, I'm really interested. Yeah, for those who are playing for the first time, he wasn't, just as a reminder, he wasn't a Confidant line in the first game. So
well, he was, but it was all automated.
Yes, yeah. It was like Morgana or Igor or whatever. But yeah,
it adds a lot of depth to that character in a really cool way. And I mean, like, we've already seen that, right, with some of, like, they going to a jazz club together and taking a bath or whatever, like, all that stuff is. But, like, yeah, the way that the Confidant line continues to evolve is just really cool.
You just get full on married.
Yeah, it's true.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of character progression really quickly. What if we gave up this whole metaverse thing and just ran away together?
Yeah, exactly. So November 5th, I think.
Yes, yeah, we're on the 5th. Sorry,
I'm trying to catch up.
No, I know our romantic interest in Akechi. It's easy to get distracted.
Well, there was, like, I was just getting distracted because there's literally a part in the card game quiz or card game, like, classroom question. I think it's the English teacher, and she's also, like, she leads into that question being like, man, Vegas is great.
Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, you're a gambling person. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, yeah, you could just run away to Vegas. They already brought it up. It's
exactly.
Good.
It all ties in together.
It was foreshadowing. That question was foreshadowing.
Man, I can't believe we're spoiling the game like this for people. Yeah, on November 5th, remember,
there was reading a book on the train and slacking off in class.
Yes. I read a fishing book on the train because I've run out of, like, many useful books at this point. I still need Guts, but I have no Guts books. So I read about fishing in case I go back to try to get some fish, I guess. And then during the class slack off time, I read about the Meiji Shrine. To open that area up, just because I have a lot of, like, places to open up. I forgot it did this. I haven't done it yet, but I appreciated it because it happened in this moment. I picked a book that was related to a location I've already unlocked, and it's really nice that the game will just be like, oh, you already know about that place, so you don't need to read this book. That's super helpful.
I checked off, like, 5 books in a row doing that. Like, it was very funny.
It's a really nice thing to have there. But I did that during class, and then I, in the day, ranked up Futaba to rank 9, again, avoiding any awkward romance.
Sure.
And then Hifumi rank 8 in the evening. Big revelations in that Hifumi moment, if you've been progressing that one. But
yeah, I think I did that one too, actually, tonight.
Okay,
so
cool.
During the day, I forgot to say, the first reading on the train book, I read the book to unlock Chinatown. And then this time I read the book that gets you, like, bonus stuff for working at the flower shop, because I was like, I don't know, like, I'm at the exact same place with you where it's like I got max stats, so reading books is, like, largely a waste of time at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm just unlocking, I'm going to do, like, the planetarium book next or whatever, like, whatever.
You can't make infiltration tools, right, at school?
You can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I guess that is a somewhat viable secondary option. But
at school, I believe you have 4 options. You have study on your own, which is just knowledge. You have making infiltration tools, although I think you make less of them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have reading a book, and then you have what I did for the second time in a row, which is just sleep. And what sleep does is just it gives you confidant points with a random confidant.
Right.
And what I learned this time, last time it was EY, I got lucky. This time I learned that it does still pick people you're maxed out with, so I got Takemi.
No.
I mean, it's like it's free confidant points, but like as my list of people that could be getting it is dwindling, it's like, oh, I'm just going to start wasting some of those, but like,
yeah,
I wasn't going to do anything during that slacking off anyway.
No, that's fair. That's the thing that, like, obviously it's really weird to be in this situation because obviously, you know, Persona 5 was our gateway into things, and like,
sure.
It is undoubtedly the biggest the franchise has ever been. And so presumably we are going to get to Persona 6 a little more quickly than we got to Persona 5 from Persona 4.
You'd assume, yeah.
You would think based on the popularity. But I think one of the things that I would hope for is just like a little bit more balance for the end game social things that you can do. Because I do feel like I ran into a similar situation in the first game where it was like, okay, my social stats were maxed out pretty quickly because you kind of need to progress them pretty quickly to do other things. But then so in certain situations like this, reading books is kind of not valuable, or if you've maxed out a lot of people, sleeping could potentially be a waste. Like you know, some of it is just free points, so it's great to have, but I wouldn't mind a little bit more balance, I think, as you get toward the end of the game to have like
something useful to sink your time into certain places.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like great to have these late game confidants so that if you did prioritize all your confidants early and you had very few left, like it's like, okay, now you have Haru and Shinya and a few others, but I do feel like there's a little bit more of a balance of options in the beginning versus as you get further. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. How about, and so then that evening that day, I leveled Haru, I think to 3? It might be to 2. I don't remember exactly. But getting that going.
Yeah.
And then, it was to 2. And then in the evening, I leveled Hifumi to 8 as well, so I'm getting her going along.
Yeah, we can hopefully talk about that one soon.
Yeah.
But, that was my day. And I got a text during the evening. Did you get this?
Commit. That's what I did.
Yeah. Oh, I heard that one that time.
Commit to a racetrack across the street from my home. So you get a text from Haru asking you to go to the festival the next day, and you can either say yes or no, or I guess you can say yes, no, you have to commit or not.
You can delay it.
You can delay it?
You can delay it, yeah.
So I committed.
Yes, yeah.
And you go to do a cute little festival thing with Haru, and she tells you kind of some sad stuff about her dad, but also you get a nice decorative fan to put in your room.
Yes,
as well.
And at least for mine, Oya also shows up.
Yeah,
and it's very funny because it's like I'm lower in the confidant with her than you are, but like at this point we're pretty friendly, but she is just so caustic during this encounter that she really is just sticking her nose where it doesn't belong and being kind of a jerk about it. And you like your options are only to be a jerk, and I'm like, this is not how I would talk to a friend, especially in front of another friend, even though this friend is an adult journalist who is plying me for information. It's it's complicated there, but you just kind of have to be mean to Oya.
She also walks up and is like, well, if it isn't the daughter of the former CEO, it's like, her dad died like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's so mean.
No, like no one comes up, I should say this, no one but really Haru comes off well in this conversation, I would say. But
well, Haru always comes off well.
Exactly. But Oya just kind of comes up and is like, so your dead dad. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah. It's really rough.
Yeah.
It's really rough. And she calls you Prince Boring, I think. Like, it's just so, like, it's very funny. I think it's very interesting how many of these, like, run-in scenes are with Oya. Like, seemingly because she runs into you, I believe, at the aquarium with Akechi or something, too. And she also runs into you another place. So, like, she is by far the most frequent person that you, like, runs into you randomly at these events.
The game knows we dissed her really hard at the beginning, and so it's just trying to be like, oh yeah, you don't want to hang out with Oya? You're going to hang out with Oya.
She comes to find you, yeah.
But yeah, that was...
But
sorry,
the scene is cute otherwise.
Yeah.
You know, this nice little festival with Haru and, like, helping her pick out stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sweet scene. I don't think it has any, like, major repercussions or, like, anything. I still think probably the Yusuke Futaba one in the electronics store is my, like, most enjoyable sort of, like, hangout session of these. But, yeah, this one was really nice and again, just getting to learn more about Haru and sort of the depth of that character there. The Oya angstiness aside, I did enjoy the scene. But, yeah, that was my day. And then in the evening, I got another rank with Sojiro.
Nice.
Yeah. So rank
you know what
8.
else happened at 8? Okay.
Yeah.
You know what else happened this evening? The shopping channel was back.
Yeah.
For the first time in what feels like a month.
It has been some time. Yeah.
Yeah. So we finally got to get shopping stuff again.
I bought the first option.
Yeah, the ointment kit,
yes.
I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what that does is it gives you the Karns. It's items that give you either something that blocks a physical wall or a magical wall, I believe.
Yeah, which are very, very useful. So, yeah.
Yeah, those can definitely be handy in a pinch.
Oh, yeah.
If you... The sad thing about those items is that they're very frequently, I use them as, like, sacrifice items, where I'm like, okay, there's an attack coming that I don't know if Joker can survive, so I'm going to put a wall up on him, and then whoever used that item, well, they're just dead.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry.
But, you know, we're now at the point, I guess, slight spoilers for a confidant ability, but if you've gotten very far with Mishima, like, you'll be able to deal with people dying in the party more easily.
Right.
So, yeah, it's definitely a trade-off, but I'm 100% with you that it's like, oh, I will use those items to protect Joker, even at the cost of all of my beloved friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've got him most of the time. I've got him equipped with, I think it's Madarame's ring. I think it's the Ring of Greed. Because what that does is it gets rid of all of his weaknesses.
Oh, so I haven't done that. I should do that. Yeah.
Joker can never be, like, downed by a weak attack. And then also the ability that he gets is you can put a shield that will absorb one attack that's as long as it's not almighty. So not only does it, like, block it, it, like, heals you for it.
That's amazing.
Okay. So it's super clutch in a pinch. Yeah.
I need to do that then for this next palace. That's really good. But yeah.
And then I think we're moving on to the last day.
What did you do for your evening?
Oh, the evening I leveled EY.
Okay, cool.
So I think I also got him to 8. I'm trying to, like...
Nice.
The thing I realized is that because I have so few knight confidants left, I literally only have... Now that Akechi's hit his cap for the moment... Oya is at 7, but I need to do her mementos request. Or that'll be what I'm doing. That's the next evening.
Gotcha.
Chihaya is at 7, Hifumi's at 8, and EY's at 8, and that's all I have for the evening. So, like, if I max one of those people out, the, like, chances that I have nothing to do on an evening go up.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, like, bring them all up kind of in line with each other.
That makes sense.
A little bit.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Which is the opposite of how I usually do confidants, where I'm like, well, he's at 8, I'm just going to finish him off, but, like... I'm resisting that urge right now.
No, I understand. I go back and forth of, like, just all in on, like, when I obviously upped Yusuke so much early on. But yeah, there are some times where I'm like, okay, I have 4 or 5 people. I'm just going to try to get them all to the next levels together as much as possible. But yeah.
Yeah. And then the final day.
The final day,
November 7th.
I went to Mementos. I was getting rid of... For some reason, I had in the back of my head that I needed to get rid of that cheater to keep upping Shinya. So I did that. But I had other confidants that I need to go around town... Or not confidants, Mementos requests that I need to go around town to find, and I just forgot to do that before I went in. But so I just used it as like a treasure hunting and a leveling up sort of scenario.
Nice.
Because like you can get through so much of Mementos just rushing and attacking and not having to do any fights. So
Yeah.
I was just doing that. I had a lot of points I needed to find still from like one or two of the locations. So I was also using that to up the...
Oh, like the stamps?
Yeah, the stamps, excuse me. So I was doing that a little bit. Like, it wasn't my most productive Mementos trip, but it's always just nice to get a little bit of a buffer. I wanted to do it this week so that I could go into the palace a little bit more equipped than I felt I was.
Totally.
But yeah.
Totally.
And then, yeah, the evening for me was Akechi, so I'm not at 8 yet. I think that's 7, but yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that day I leveled Haru again. So Haru's now 3, I believe.
Nice.
I really am wanting to focus her a little bit, which is unfortunate because I still have Makoto and Futaba to do on my party also.
Yeah.
But, like, I just want to catch Haru up a little.
I don't remember. I need to look it up, but I don't remember what Futaba's abilities are all the way through, but I always just felt like it's great to level her up because she's just always there in the background. You never know when one of her powers is going to help out. So I've been trying to prioritize her for sure.
You're dead on. Her abilities are the most generally useful of your party members, right? Because she acts kind of as they are the more like passive ones rather than like Haru can now do Harrison recovery is like useful if you're using Haru if you have this like a status ailment, right?
Yeah.
It's much more narrow.
Exactly.
Not that it's not useful.
Yeah. And then what did you do?
So yeah, I leveled Haru and then I did I got Oya's Mementos request. So Oya was
Nice.
already at 7 and now I have her Mementos request. So the only Mementos request I believe I'm missing from a Confidant is Shinya's now at this point.
Cool. Nice.
But I don't think I'm going to get Shinya up to 7 or whatever it needs to be before I go to Mementos again, but that's fine.
Fair. You because you'll probably at least go one more time anyway.
Probably.
Yeah. You platinumed the game the first time around, though, right?
I did.
Okay, cool. Just double checking if there was anything like cleanup wise there that you were doing or not. Because yeah, I'm trying to get the platinum in one go, and it seems pretty achievable at this point.
It is achievable, yeah. Like, I mean, I definitely got to the point at the end of... I had to count my days a little bit come January, but, like, at the end of the game, I was sort of just spinning my wheels a little bit with time and just saying, like, okay, I'll just go batting this time to get the batting achievement so that I can get the platinum, right? Like, it was that sort of thing.
Exactly. Like, I think I have to do, and I'm trying to find it, but I think I have to do the, like, the maid cafe in Akihabara, and it's like I don't want to spend a night on that when I have so many confidants I could be doing, but it doesn't.
It could get you guts, I think.
Oh.
I believe the maid cafe gives you social stats.
Oh.
Depending on what you order.
Well then, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna have to go do that then, I guess. But yeah, I
also think the maid cafe has a Mementos request at some point. Where, like, similar to the, I might be misremembering this, but I think similar to the, like, flower shop and the job ones, at some point you have to, like, go hang out at the maid cafe to, like, get a name, I think. Okay. So it's not a waste of time to do it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm trying to look
And also the maid cafe achievement, or the maid cafe trophy, I believe is, like, you have to go, like, 5 times or something like that.
Really? Okay.
Because I think it's like you need access to like the special menu or something, and to do that you need to build up a certain amount of points. With them.
I thought it was just going to be a one time. God, all right, I'll start going to the maid cafe.
Don't quote me on that again. I
sure.
think that is the case.
No, I'll double check. Yeah, just out of curiosity, and I guess for those at home who are playing along and want to gauge where their trophy hunting is at, if they're platinum searchers, I have 11 trophies left in total. 5 of them are hidden on what appears to be the story path, so I assume those are just all guaranteed. I still have to max out all my social stats, so that's one of them. I have to evolve a party member's persona, which I think is a royal edition that I haven't gotten to yet. Conquer the Reaper. Order from the special menu. And I think there's like 1 or 2 small ones in there.
Yeah, order from the special menu I think takes like 4 or 5 times.
Okay, I'll prioritize doing that then. But yeah, it's...
But again, like I said, you'll have evenings, right?
For sure.
Like,
yeah.
You will have evenings where you may not have days.
Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, I think it's pretty doable at this point. It's just a matter of... I think the maid cafe will be the only thing I need to spend time doing, because I'm going to eventually get guts. Like, guts will happen.
Sure.
Once I am far enough into mementos, conquering the Reaper becomes very easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's doable.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think that's our week.
Yes.
Shall we talk about Yusuke?
Or
should we do wrap up first and then?
Ooh. Yeah.
And then, let's do that.
Let's do wrap up first. If you wouldn't mind giving your question, I accidentally X'd out of my personas sheet.
No problem.
I need to pull that back up.
So just to clarify, what we're going to do is we're going to do our wrap-up of our persona pseudonym and pop quiz, just so that the people who have not maxed out Yusuke yet can run away, and then we're going to talk about Yusuke's confidant line from start to finish and kind of dig into it a little bit, because it is a cool one to talk about. And then anybody who doesn't like the spoilers doesn't need to hear it. So to start, pop quiz for next week is actually relevant to Yusuke. So we're going to talk about this because it's part of his confidant line. In his confidant line, and this is only spoilers for, like, I think it's up to, like, his 6th? I think it's his 6th or his 7th level. At some point in it, we've talked about this before, part of his confidant line is this art patron offering to give him resources to support his art. And at some point, the patron offends Yusuke's sensibilities by making it all about money, and says that he can sell Yusuke's story, and sell him as kind of this, like, specific type of artist. So the question is, how does this guy want to sell Yusuke? What are the words he uses for how he thinks Yusuke could be, like, packaged and sold to a mass market, basically? So that's the question. If you haven't maxed Yusuke yet,
it's been a while
to find out
for me since I did that. So,
well, we can go through his confidant line too, and that might give some clues.
It might, and I'll try not to accidentally say it while looking at things.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, though, I like that one, but I have a persona pseudonym for you to guess now.
Okay.
And I've got 2, just in case the first one is too easy.
I've been paying attention, but also, man, Size Palace has a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's got a lot of personas.
Yeah. I'm only gonna probably do 2 this week if it's easy. If not, I'm gonna hold on to them because there's a lot of personas in there, but I'm gonna probably need them, especially as we like the gap between palaces. But anyway, this first one for you to guess is from Size Palace, so I guess slight spoilers. But this is known as the Expressionless Beast.
Oh, this is not one I know. Okay. It's not that. It's not those. It's not that one. Who's at the beginning of this palace? We already did Osei.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. It's not that guy.
I will say it's a very boring name.
It doesn't exactly help. I'm trying to think of, like, I'm literally just trying to picture the personas in my head.
I'll give you another just to see if it helps both eliminate, but also to see if you can get this one. This other one is known as the, there it is. The Midnight Queen.
That one I know.
Okay.
That one I definitely know.
Yeah. Just maybe, I was hoping maybe knowing one would help trigger, like, the other one in your head.
I'm just trying to think of, like, I'm literally just trying to picture the fights. So, this is why I don't know this. Read it again.
The Expressionless Beast.
This is why I don't know this. Okay, this is a humble brag, and I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of this palace, I was too high leveled, and I never fought anybody.
Oh, okay.
So I got at least 3 personas in my party. So that I think that this means I got at least 3 personas in my party that I never even fought. It just added it to my thing.
Okay.
And I think that means...
Mm-hmm.
Because that one wouldn't make sense.
Uh-huh.
I think that means that this is unicorn.
Damn, you got it right.
Yeah!
Yeah, very good. Very good.
And the other one is Queen Mab.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. I love that process of elimination. That's
wow.
You never even saw that name and you got it right. That's
No, I didn't. Because I was thinking, okay, who are the people that I got in my party that I got without knowing it? And it was 3 different names, and only one of them fit with Beast. So I was like... Because I was assuming I was going to be able to get that one because I figured it would have something to do with horse or horn or anything unicorn related.
That's fair. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That was tiring. That caused me, like, that genuinely was mentally tiring.
Oh my! Can you handle doing Yusuke now, or do we need to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Yeah, I think you can. There's a lot about Yusuke's storyline that we can, kind of group together for sure. But
yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, I literally didn't fight Unicorn a single time in this palace.
That's amazing.
It was the first one I got. I walked up to it, and it was the first fight, and I auto killed it, and it said Unicorn added to your party, and I went, oh no. Like, literally my first thought was, I'm not going to be able to get these pseudonym questions.
So good. Oh my god. I'm going to have to keep an eye then on who the early ones are, just so I can keep that in mind for next week. But yeah.
Oh yeah, you can use them to stump me.
Oh yeah.
I think although I think there's only like one other that this would really be a problem with, but
okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
That was fun. Let's talk about Yusuke.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to jump into it. Yusuke's Confidant line. We're not going to go through every single thing beat by beat, but we're going to talk about some of his abilities, how they've changed between Royal, the base game and Royal. We're going to talk about kind of the arc that he went on. And overall, let's just start with this. What did you think about Yusuke's Confidant line? It's been a little while, but the general arc of it being him being very confident with his art, but being in a slump and then feeling like he doesn't know anything about the human spirit, and then kind of meeting this patron and getting pushed to explore his own art more, and then coming out of it a little more confident is sort of his arc.
Yes, yeah. I would say it's one of the party member ones that I don't remember doing a ton in the first game, so I'm very much focused on sort of my impression of it this time, but I enjoy it a fair bit. I think it is reasonably predictable in terms of its twists and turns and the character development that happens. I think it is fairly obvious how it goes, but it didn't make me not enjoy it necessarily. I think often they're very either weird and funny, which fits for Yusuke, sort of by the sheer act of Yusuke not knowing what he's doing would be considered weird to an extent, which I appreciate about the character. It is this thing where he really does not focus on how people think about what he's doing when he is pursuing, great art. That is his focus, and if he looks silly doing it, it doesn't matter if he's getting a result out of it. And so I appreciate that sort of being reflected throughout all of this. I think he's left in a really interesting position among the early group, because his is so directly related to someone we fought in a palace. And not to say Ans isn't, but Ans was sort of her friend got the worst of it from oh my god, Kamoshida. Sorry, I wanted to say Kaneshiro, but yeah, from Kamoshida.
They're very similar.
Exactly. And whereas I think the stuff with Kaneshiro isn't quite as personal, even though obviously, Makoto goes through a lot there. I don't think is as personally connected. And so with that original batch, I think he's left with the most dramatic of sort of a point after one of the palaces. And so seeing him try to go through this journey of figuring out who he is as an artist, what that actually all means, his goals and all that stuff, I think works really well. And I think it especially works well if you're seeing it also and knowing his interest in the Maruki side of things as well. Obviously the timing of that can make a few of those conversations weird, but I really like it. I think his powers, I will outright say, both in the first game and this game, I have used them 0 times. and feel no need to use them whatsoever.
So, sorry.
I was just
so
gonna say.
let's.
So yeah, like that's how I feel. I think I really love his story. His powers and his abilities mean nothing to me.
So let's go over his powers really quick first, because I think that I usually completely agree. I didn't use his powers basically at all in the base game.
Yeah.
I didn't use his powers basically at all in my first playthrough of Royal. On the second playthrough of Royal, I realized how drastically they changed them.
Okay.
And suddenly I realized that they are massively powerful if you take the time, if you're really interested in persona customization.
If you take your time. Yeah.
Take your time, yeah. If you're really interested in persona customization, they are night and day different from the originals.
Okay.
So the base game, his powers, he had 3 powers that were unlocked at rank 1, rank 5, and rank 7. And they were basically just bad. Because rank 1, what you could do is you could take a blank card, and you could take a skill card that you had, and you could hand them to him, and then like the next day or whatever, you would get a copy of the skill card back. And then at rank 5, you would be able to unlock, or you'd be able to duplicate mid-tier skill cards,
Yeah.
and then at rank 7, you could do high-tier skill cards. So basically, it gated which ones you could copy. Rank 5 in this one is now what it is rank 1 is you can duplicate any skill card in the game. Rank 5 is you can duplicate anything, you can use a blank card to copy anything that he's already copied once. So suddenly every time you copy a card with him, it adds to like a library of abilities that you can just like make those cards anytime you want.
Okay. Like with personas in the...
Yes, exactly. Like with personas, basically. And rank 7, the new ability, is where I'm completely missed this on my first playthrough of Royal because I just assumed it was still useless.
Yeah.
Now what it is duplication doesn't take any more time.
Oh.
So it doesn't take a day. And additionally, you can even do it in safe rooms in mementos. In safe rooms in palaces.
Oh. Okay.
So if you go up to Yusuke when he's just standing around in a safe room and talk to him, you can duplicate any card at that point, and you can make a copy of any card that you've already duplicated. So basically what that means is if you take the time to just go through your list of skill cards you've gotten, duplicate them once, then you can turn any blank card into any skill card at any time you want instantly.
Okay.
And so you could have this library of high-level skills that you have, go to Yusuke, spend 8 cards, and make a persona have exactly the 8 skills you want it to have every single time.
Huh.
And that's, like, pretty cool, right? Like, that is actually usable, as opposed to the other stuff, which was like, okay, so I can copy some cards, but it takes a full day, and then I have to always make sure I have one of each skill card saved. Like, that's, like, not usable.
Yeah, that feels a lot more in the... I think the spirit of, like, the P5 to Royal changes of just making things... Even if you can argue it maybe makes them easier, it just makes it so much more user-friendly. In a way that just benefits
it makes it
the player
functional.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was just not very, like, I don't know anybody who really, like, went hard into skill cards in the base game, right?
I could not tell you what skill cards I had. I didn't duplicate any of them. Yeah, it
Which
was
is
very
a drag.
much, yeah, I didn't do them, and I didn't even think to look at his skills this time because I just assumed they were the same. So it's good to know that because they could come in handy certainly somewhere.
Yeah, so, and there's a certain level of you could have already do this a little bit with, like, just itemizing. Like, if you had a persona that has a really good skill card, you could just itemize it. But now, you know, you're only able to do, like, the really good versions of their skill cards through alarms, and now what you can do is itemize that persona during an alarm, take the skill card, give it to Yusuke, immediately have it just in a library that you can, like, anytime you're in a palace and you say, oh, I got this new persona that I really want to use, you can just walk up to him in the safe room and just get the ability you want, right? Yeah. So it's super cool, and it's very different. It's still not, like, I think, overly game-changingly useful for most people. Like, you don't really need to engage with that system.
For sure.
But the fact that you can just kind of it adds a lot of control over how you can build your personas if you want to get really, really granular with that.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I mean, I will say, and I think it's sort of funny, I guess, to think about how much I love this game, but I engage so little with the persona side of it. Like
it's tedious.
The team building, the combining, the getting rid of to get items, the skill cards, all that sort of stuff. I rarely ever use it, and it's basically just like if I realize, oh, my Joker team is kind of bad right now, I'll get rid of some to open up the party for others later. But I very rarely engage with it, even though it is persona, which is weird, I guess, but like it's just not where my focus is often.
It's a really slow and kind of cumbersome system. Like, I think it is a very flexible and cool system, but it's just like sort of slow to use and like annoying to figure out, like without like using a guide online sometimes.
Yeah, and Royal improves it, or at least like enhances the options in a lot of ways too. But yeah, I think there's just something to the like just the sheer number of menus you have to go through to get like one thing done. It just kind of makes me sometimes be like, I'll do this another time, and then I just don't.
It is I basically engage with it in bursts, right? Like I will not do any Velvet Room stuff, and then I'll be like, okay, time for a Velvet Room trip, and do like an hour customizing my personas or whatever. That's and then like go back out and just not think about it for a while.
I will say that a little bit more for the end.
The network fusions are busto OP in this game. Like, just super, super powerful. Because you can take, like, a level 3 persona and just, like, click it, and it'll just give you options near your level. And a lot of the time, you'll be able to just, like, find one that's, like, combining it with a level 80 persona where you can just take, like, the best abilities from the end game and, like, put them on your persona right now.
Cool.
And, like, it just, like, lets you do that really cheaply and frequently.
That's very funny.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about Yusuke proper, though.
Yes.
So Yusuke's Confidant starts out, interestingly, like, we joked a lot, right, that it takes, like, 1,000 years for you to actually get him as a Confidant. He stays at your house. He's constantly asking you for help. Says he's in a slump and he wants your help getting out. It starts off actually properly with you going into Mementos together, which is a really cool, fun little thing where you're like, hey, let's hang out. And he's like, cool, we're going into Mementos right now, which, like... It breaks your expectations a little bit in that regard. He draws, right, this picture, feels really confident about it, and his second thing says he's really, like, he's painted desire, and he's so happy about it. And then he hangs it in a gallery at a show, and everyone's like, I don't see any desire here. And this old patron guy I mentioned earlier walks up and is like, the technique's impressive, but it's, like, functionally empty, and it's not saying anything. And Yusuke is very defensive at first, and then gets very sad because he realizes the guy's right, and he kind of, like, loses confidence in that he knows actually what the human heart is, but he wants to get out of his slump. And so the kind of preceding, what is it, like, three palace or hangouts are all, like teaching Yusuke about the world, right? So,
which... for me, like, almost makes, and I know we joked about it a lot, but it almost, and I do not know if it's intentional, because I think you could read it as not or is, but, like, to your point of, we did so much with Yusuke, and we still weren't able to be confidants with him, and I think there is a certain level of, like, separation that Yusuke does from even the people who are closest to him right now in his life. There is a marked separation in his, like, emotional state from them. And so I do think, like, that almost retroactively makes me not mind that it takes forever, as silly as it is. But it is that it does play into this idea of, like, okay, Yusuke is trying to fundamentally understand just how emotions work to an extent here.
Right. Yeah, and you see that, right? There's the boat date where you go on a boat with him, and then he looks over at this, like, he's drawing this couple that he thinks is, like, full of passionate love, and then they're like, they're like brother and sister.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I did, that wasn't there. And then you go to the church, and there's that very funny, like, posing scene that they do.
The church date is amazing.
Yeah, and he wants to paint anguish by painting Jesus on the cross, and then a priest comes up and is like, well, a lot of people see the symbol of Jesus at the cross as, like, a symbol of hope and forgiveness and not pain. And he's like, oh, Okay. And then you go to...
I will say, though, just as someone who grew up going to Catholic school for forever, most of the story, they focus on the pain that he endured. The majority of the story that we retell every year is kind of about how arduous a slog it was both to get to him being on the cross and then being on the cross. Anyway, but yes, yeah, it does let Yusuke see other sides of the human spirit.
And then his rank 6 one is where you go back to Madarame's atelier, and he looks at his old room. And I think this is the really, like, pivotal one for me, at least. Yeah. Because basically what it's saying is Yusuke has been struggling with, like, how to internalize and rationalize, like, the duality of humans, basically. That they can have both good and bad in them. And that's this, like, that's why I think his story is really good, because it centers around that with Madarame, of him being, like, he did horrible things for horrible reasons, and he's a horrible person that he did this stuff, but also, like, he took me in, and he gave me a home, and he took care of me, and, like, how do I possibly rationalize those two things? And, like, he talks about how he used to just paint, it would just flow out of him, and now, like, Madarame has corrupted his idea of what art is because Madarame was so corrupt. And, like, it's this really interesting, I think it's, like, a really interesting struggle within him of not being able to rationalize two disparate parts of humanity into one thing. And that's, like, wholly his arc. It is entirely his arc.
Yeah, I think it ties really well into that. And yeah, that I think you hit it with the duality idea is really, like, central to all of this. And I think these scenes show that both, like, with the, obviously I was being a little hyperbolic, but with, like, the whole thing at church of, like, oh yeah, you think it's just about the suffering of Jesus, where it's actually about the positive outcome of what happened for humanity, right, is the point of that there. Or, like, oh, you think love, like, your perception of two people sharing a close bond seems to only be that it could be romantic in that way, but there is other types of love, like familial love is a thing and whatnot. And so, like, him learning that emotions can be multifaceted is so important, but it is obviously stymied by the fact that he had just a hell of a mentor who really emotionally stunted him in ways that he should probably be going to Maruki far often more for. But no, I think you're totally right there.
Yeah. And then you get the patron comes in, right? The guy from the art museum comes in and says, oh, I was just walking by and the door was open, and explains that he runs this commission to, like, help support young artists, and he wants to support Yusuke. And then you go out to sushi together, right? And this guy sounds very supportive and cool, and basically sees Yusuke has a passion for this and wants to support him. And then starts talking, as I said in my question of the week, about how they can package and sell him, right? And how his story is so compelling that they can, like, they can make him famous through that. And Yusuke kind of, like, is deeply offended by this idea of, like, just doing it for the money and just doing it for the art. And says no and refuses the guy.
Yeah.
But then also Yusuke is very struggling with this idea that he, like, does want those things, and he doesn't want to want those things. But, like, that culminates in the next confidant scene, which is you meet up with the gang, and he has another one of those moments where he thinks that the Sayuri is all about beauty, and then On's is like, well, it's also very gentle in my eyes, and, like, it's got other perspectives to it. And kind of together, the whole gang basically is like, hey, like, you want to make a living off of doing the thing that you love, and you want to be acknowledged for the work that you do, and there's nothing dirty or wrong about feeling that way about these things. And, like, you need to let yourself be okay with that, even, like, through all of this, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't deny that you want these things, and there's nothing dirty about that.
Yeah, no, and again, it ties into that duality thing. Like, this is, you can both enjoy what you're doing, but also want to be acknowledged for the fact that what you're doing is good, or, like, if it's not, figuring out a way to do that, obviously. But, like, Yusuke tends to see things very singularly, and I think it always ties back to that. And that's why I enjoy the storyline, because I do think it, even in its silliest moments or its darkest moments, like, it always reflects back on that sort of central idea. And it's even something with, like, the Sayuri, where he very much saw it as this one specific way, and then on is just like, actually, I see it this way. And that is massive, because that's, just showing that there can be more than one thing.
And it does show also, like, he presents himself as a very mature person, and it does show that he is still a kid and still learning and still I think it's very healthy for him to go through all of this, right?
Totally. Yeah.
And then finally this all culminates and you go back to Mementos. He does some more sketchy things, wants to paint something that's not just desire, but like deeper than that, has more levels than that, makes people think more than that. And you run into that patron on the way out, and he eggs you on, being like, hey, you're not going to win if you think you're going to enter. That's... And Yusuke kind of has a moment where he realizes that he wants to enter the competition, but, like, didn't even think about winning anymore. Like, he just wants people to see what he can create, which is a shift for him in a nice way.
Oh, yeah.
And then finally, he paints up the painting and wins the competition anyway, and everyone thinks it's great, and the patron admits that he was just putting on an act to egg Yusuke on to get him out of his shell and to get him to get motivated, basically. It was all a trick.
What? I mean, it's a weird trick to pull on a kid, if I'm being honest, but...
Yeah,
it's definitely...
But then... Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, like, that was sort of what I was referring to, like, it's not really shocking in a story like this, where it's like, oh, I was just trying to help you, sort of thing, and prove the point.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But then the thing that I think I really like about this final bit is that it turns out that this patron was also a victim of Madarame, right? That he had known Madarame for a very long time, and Madarame accused him of stealing his clients, and so he, like, basically shunned him out of the industry, right? And so he was another one of these people who was affected by Madarame in this way and, like, tried to turn it into some good by supporting somebody. And tells this story about how Madarame, like, tried to take care of his sick kid with a fever when he was younger, meaning Yusuke, and it's like, yeah, this guy who did some terrible things and was literally a boss in this game, like, has layers to him, too, and Yusuke is kind of, like, able to come to terms with that a little bit more than he was at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think it's a really good story. I think it is really cool to see Yusuke evolve. I think it has a lot of funny moments. I think it is a lot of very relevant revelations, and then also it ties really nicely into the larger story together. I really like this arc that Yusuke goes on. I think it's really nice and cool, and, like, it's nice in a way that I look at Ryuji's, and I'm like, Ryuji's is a really good story, but, like, he doesn't develop as a character much within it. Whereas this is, like, a little bit less of, like, a relevant story being told, but Yusuke goes on a very large journey that you can kind of track, and I think has some nice messages, ultimately.
Yeah, and I think for that reason is why I prefer this story, I think, to a lot of the others that we've talked about so far, just because it does feel so demonstrably important to the character, even if, like, as we said, the game has to make some accommodations if you haven't been keeping up with it, like with things with that Maruki discussion. Where I could argue that the Yusuke at the end of this Confidant line maybe wouldn't have been in such a dire position in that conversation necessarily, but I think on the whole, I really love this Confidant line. Again, the powers are not my favorite by any stretch.
Sure.
Though it's good to know that they have improved in Royal, and I do want to give them a try, especially in the late game. But I really, really like the journey we get to go on with Yusuke in this one.
Yeah, and to your point about the Maruki conversation, right? Like, at the end of this, the patron's like, hey, I'll still support you. And he's like, no, thank you. And, like, even admits to himself, right? Like, that's maybe a wasteful thing to do and kind of an odd choice, but, like, it's the thing I need to do for myself.
Yeah.
And also, importantly, they both recognize that Madarame had layers to him and was not just pure evil, but, like, that doesn't mean they're, like, suddenly forgiving him, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's an important part of this, too, is, like, Madarame doesn't, like, suddenly become a guy you hang out with. It's just, like, important. It's healthy to recognize that you can have conflicting feelings about a person in that way, right?
It is
and
possible,
not try to deny that.
Exactly. And that it is possible for a terrible human being to do good things, like that is possible, as but it doesn't excuse the bad things that they did.
It's not a redemption arc for Madarame.
Exactly.
It's just like it's always framed in Yusuke's perspective,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And I think that's really good. Yeah, so I really like this Confidant line. I'm glad we went through it. I'm glad it's one I always like seeing because it is also full of just like very funny moments of like, man, I'm sorry genuinely if that church scene offends anybody. I don't mean it to, but it is so funny when they do those anime T poses. Is like, it's very like Power Rangers. Like, I think it's intentionally sort of that vibe, right? In the poses they make.
Yeah. I am sure it can and probably is offensive to some. It is not to me, but I am also not the most religious at this point in my life. So, I am not speaking from that perspective whatsoever. But yeah, it's I do think there are very funny moments and moments that are funny because it's very true to Yusuke and that character. And so, yeah, I really like the story a lot.
Well, now that we've gone through that, that's all the time we got. Next week, we're going to be back to talk about what we did during the week, but also the palace itself. Dig into the meat of that. There's obviously a lot there to discuss. And you can leave any comments on the Dornology YouTube channel or on the Dornology@gmail email or Twitter. I'm at Tom R. Marks. He's at JM Dornbush. There's lots of places. Leave reviews if you liked us. All that good stuff. Yeah, that's about all we got today. Morgana's telling us to go to sleep, so we got to do that. And yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much, everyone. Talk to you later. Tom, where are you going? No. Oh no, Tom. Where have you gone? He's shrinking. No.